welcome. Good to be with you. Yeah, I hope you've been well. Beautiful to be with you. Move the kettlebell out of shot. Trying something a bit different this week. I am streaming on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Magic. 32 beautiful people. Gratitude to be with you, my friend. Hope your practice has been serving you. I hope that your explorations of yourself has, continued in small ways or big ways to help you be more resilient, being the foundation upon which you can then give your gifts to the world, to family, friends, community, and ultimately the planet. So, let's support each other on our journey towards peace and balance, and sending good vibes for you. So, beautiful to be with you, and let's get straight into things. We're going to jump on Zoom later and start with my idea. And Billy asked, and I've got the chat this time. Yeah, here we go. Getting up, technological person now. I'll work on that for next week. But there's Billy's question, you can see. Hello again, George. Maybe a bit of a weird one to conjure wisdom for, but do you know any teachings regarding addiction and discipline? So addiction is something that I've been exploring more since I've been invited to a couple of events where it was addicts who were in recovery and learning more about drug addiction and the various forms of addiction. And just checking we're all good. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so I've been doing these events on addiction. So we all have addictions of various forms. Well, I can, speak for 99% of us, me included, of addictions to dopamine of some form. So for me, it's the sweet treat, and I feel like I'm fairly balanced with it. But I do notice that because I work for myself, I go to cafes and I have a vegan brownie most days. And my body enjoys that sugar. So, that's one of my addictions. And we have varying forms on various gradations of harm, going from, food or over-socializing and not being by ourselves, pornography, through to alcohol and harder drugs. And I've just actually finished a book recently called Chasing the Scream by Johann Hari. Chasing the Scream by Johann Hari. Amazing, amazing book. Highly recommend it. And it talks about the drug war that we've been on and how we as a society treat people with addiction. And that is basically if they're taking a hard drug, to say that they're criminals. And even if it's something like gambling, is to pull yourself together, you're out of control, take responsibility for your life. We often treat addicts with shame and judgment, and the belief being that there's punishment will then make them change. But as Johann Hari says in Chasing the Scream, is that he says that the opposite of addiction is connection. The opposite of addiction is connection. So often we are using these substances in order to fill an emptiness that we feel within us, a sense of disconnection from our wiser selves, from our playful selves, from our selves that likes being in relationship, the part of us that likes security. When we lack our basic needs, when our basic needs are not met, then we feel this disconnection, this pain, and then we use external sources in order to satiate, distract, and numb ourselves from that pain. And, for my smaller addiction of, less intense and less damaging addiction of vegan brownies, it's still, I notice myself, if I have a bad day, I use food as an emotional crutch to kind of support myself. And so, with even more intense, trauma that people go through, their lives are so difficult, and maybe some of the stuff that you're working with is, we then begin to use this substance to help support us. So the question that Billy asked is that, how do we deal with it? with addiction, and you use the word discipline, which, yeah, we can explore. But that, first of all, that insight that the opposite of addiction is connection, as Jackson said in the chat, is, and you look, we got the chat on now. This is great. I'll still work on this the future. Okay, chat off. So, yeah, the opposite of addiction is connection. So rather than fighting our addictions with discipline, it's like, oh, come on, I shouldn't eat this, I shouldn't watch this, I shouldn't buy this. Can we just instead begin to look at why that desire is coming up and try and find the need that is unmet underneath that desire? And when we find that need that's unmet, then we go to the source of the reason that we get into these compulsive and disruptive behaviors. And that's where true healing is possible. So for someone who's been addicted to crystal meth or opioid drugs, just taking the drugs off them and judging them and shaming them isn't going to help them reconnect with themselves or to find peace. You know, they are using these drugs in order to support themselves for just being, because their lives are that difficult. And so meeting ourselves and how we think about how to relate to addiction in the world, connection is the key. And this is the key word, we don't take simple answers here on our adventures into the Tao and nature. And discipline is also a useful tool that we can develop. So we looked holistically at connection being the source of many of our addiction problems. And yet, nonetheless, we as human beings need to develop the ability to watch desire pop up into our minds and not act upon it, to not be reactive, to not always be lost in the valleys of craving and desire, and instead to take a breath and watch the craving come and go. And so then to have the discipline to not always be caught in craving. So finding the underlying needs of that craving can then get to the source of that healing and the source of that craving, but then also that craving can continue to arise in your mind. So that's then when you develop that internal space through meditation, through taking action, where you build your confidence in yourself, challenging yourself, realizing you can do more than you normally would imagine you could, and then increasing that power that you know that you have, you reconnect with that power, and then you have discipline, and you don't act on those cravings. Notice, though, that the word discipline I use in a much more soft way than we would normally imagine discipline. There's the difference between high standards and harshness. High standards is where we aspire to live in keeping with our best selves, with integrity, and to live a life of simplicity and a clean life in the sense of not filling our mind and our bodies full of pollution, but instead really giving ourselves what we need and what nourishes us. So a clean life. And yeah, when we give ourselves these things, that's high standards. We work towards that. Punishment and harshness, on the other hand, is where we waste our own energy beating ourselves up with a big stick saying, you shouldn't be doing this. That's a waste of energy. High standards isn't. Discipline can help you get there, but in a kinder way. Yeah, so Chasing the Scream by Johan Hari, awesome book. I'd love to hear your thoughts. 41 beautiful people, beautiful to be with you. And yeah, let's get into the chat and see what you're saying. Chat on the screen, yes. All right. Jackson sharing the advice resonating, trying to type out something similar, but put it perfectly. And C sharing, when it comes to dopamine addiction, if it's not very severe, it might be useful to have a healthy approach to our own will. Many people believe that they do not have self-control over themselves. Absolutely. Yeah, we are capable of more than we can know. We're more powerful than we can even begin to capture. So yeah, remembering that potential that we have. And awesome, Billy. I'm glad that was valuable for you. Welcoming more thoughts in the chat. Any other questions? Jules sharing any teachings for codependency in relationships. Any teachings for codependency in relationships? This question here. Yeah, so the most harmonious relationships are those, and you'll know this, where two people who are strong in themselves come together and they are stronger together. Two people that have their own sense of self, their own independence, do not put their own happiness onto the other person, but instead take responsibility for their life. And yet also a real openness and generosity and the desire to support the partner and for the partner to support you to flourish together. David Dada has a great little definition on the value of relationships. The purpose of relationships is to serve each other in love and growth better than you can serve yourself. The purpose of relationships is to serve each other in love and growth better than you can serve yourself. So, yeah, independence is important because although we can support each other, we take this journey of life as an individual, as this point of consciousness. And so if we give our power to other people outside of ourselves, like I'm only happy when they are kind to me, I'm only happy when they're happy, although the intention may be good, is that we are then putting our dependence on them. So can we hold both things at the same time? It's another and answer for you. One, finding your independence, finding your resilience through your practice, through your meditation, through your breath work, through your exercise, to be strong in yourself. And then at the same time, also know that we are social creatures. And so for you to have the desire to support the people in your relationships and the hope and aspiration and the request that they also support you in your growth. We're stronger together. Thank you. Lovely question. All right, can't see the bottom of the chat. Work on that for next week. Luna says, any advice on letting go of past relationships in a kind way? Any advice on letting go of past relationships in a kind way? Yeah, so, in relationships, we make attachments. And the Buddhist ideal is for us to be non-attached to the world, joyfully living in it, but then not attached to it. The Daoists don't talk as much about non-attachment. But the reality is of being a human being is that as we love someone, we form bonds, metaphor for our heart, but this embodied being, our hearts fusing and that attachment coming. And then for whatever reason, we break up. They weren't right. The relationship for some reason wasn't working. And yeah, sometimes that can mean that the other person breaks up with us or we break up for them. But obviously there's still a lot of emotion and hurt and loss that comes when the process of separating two hearts occurs. So honoring the challenge, honoring the grief that can come with breakups, it's always extending compassion to ourselves as the starting point. Okay, this is where I'm at. I'm hurting. That's okay. And then letting go of relationships in a kind way is to, reflect on the idea of resonance. Is that, let's say they broke up with you, and you're feeling you're not good enough, and you're feeling hurt. Is to trust that there is someone that will resonate with your unique being. We're all truly unique. Nobody has your fingerprints, nobody has your voice, nobody has your story, nobody has your preferences. You are a truly unique manifestation of the intelligence of the universe. And so to trust that uniqueness, to trust that there is someone in this big world that will resonate with you. And that may not be a romantic relationship, and maybe we don't connect with them in this lifetime, but to trust that if somebody breaks up with you, it's not that you're not enough. Maybe there is stuff you can grow from, maybe things that you could have done differently. That doesn't make you not enough. You're still, a unique, wonderful person with so many gifts. And can you trust that? Can you trust that? So that makes the letting go easier, because then we are trusting that, okay, this wasn't right. Maybe the timing wasn't right. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe they weren't ready. Maybe we weren't right for each other anyway. So, then you can continue to give yourself permission just to honor the pain, but to continue to let it go. And then, like I was saying earlier, building up your own resilience, that we go on this journey, and if we can find freedom in ourselves to enjoy life exactly as we are, without depending on other people, then we create a beautiful energy. That means that we enjoy life even if we're in a relationship or not, and then we are creating an energy that invites people in, and maybe someone that will resonate with you. So I hope that's valuable for you, my friends. Any books? Fruit Scotland asks, for a beginner in Stoicism and being more self-aware. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. So 55 beautiful people. Wonderful to be with you. I haven't actually explored any Stoicism. Not yet. I'd quite like to. Those videos on YouTube where it's like, I read Stoicism for 30 days and it changed my life completely. I've got an intention to do one of those eventually and take you on the journey of me exploring Stoicism. And that hasn't happened yet. One day it will. So, can't say much about that at the moment. Jordan asking what your favorite translation of the Tao Te Ching is. So the Tao Te Ching, the foundational text of Daoism, is the book that started my whole self-awareness and spiritual journey, and written 2,500 years ago. And this is a translation that I've been coming back to, and was the first one that I read, which is Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer. And living the wisdom of the Tao, reinterpreted for modern living. And it's a chapter that you can read once a day or every couple of days, and then it's the chapter applied. And that continues to be a source of wisdom and guidance for me. Rodrigo asking, I have one question. How do you call this symbol? And one day I'll get that chat to work. So we're looking at the yin yang. And here's a yin yang for you. And I'll get another yin yang. This has lots of different names. And in Chinese it's called the Tai Chi Tu. So Tai Chi is Tai Chi. Tai Chi means supreme, ultimate. And Tu means picture. So this is the supreme, ultimate picture. What we call, the yin yang. Yang being the black. Yang being the white, Yang with fang. Yang rhymes with fang. Think about a white fang. And yang is the white one. And then yin, think about a black bin. Yin is black. So, Tai Chi Tu, the supreme ultimate principle, and it demonstrates the cosmological start of the universe story for the Taoists. So, in the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu says there was the Tao, so the principles that shape the universe, that underlie everything. Before there was even form, there was the potentiality for form, and that potentiality is the Tao, which we can think about the forces of nature. If you're atheist or God or Allah, if you are religious. And then form came into being. You could think about it as the singularity, oneness. And then there was differentiation within oneness. So Tao gives birth to one, one gives birth to two, and that's yin and yang. And then two gives birth to three, yin and yang intersect, sex with biological evolution, male and female have sex and create children. So the intersection between the masculine and the feminine, or yin and yang, then leads to the myriad things in the world. So the Tao gives birth to one, one gives birth to two, two gives birth to three, three gives birth to the myriad things. So yeah, deep symbol, and that story of the universe makes sense to me. And yeah, oneness, differentiation, and multiplicity. All is one, one is all, both are true at the same time. We all come from the same source, and yet, and so we're all one. The cliche is true. And yet at the same time, the one is many. The one is all the different manifestations of the universe, plants and humans and you and me. So the Guyver says, I want to know, what is your views about reincarnation? And what would you like to be reincarnated as? A marine animal, a flying, or maybe a land one? Nice. So reincarnation. Is there life after death? One of the great mysteries that religions have always pondered upon, and science supposedly was one of the things that could not answer such deep mysteries. And indeed, we do come from a deep mystery. We all come from the same source. All the plants and animals and human beings, all of us, no matter our country, race, species, or gender, emerge from the same mysterious source, which we can call the Tao, or Allah, God, the forces of nature, whatever word works for you, universe, great spirit, nature. We also know from physics that everything's energy, everything's vibrations, and we know that energy can only be transformed, it cannot be destroyed. And we are this embodied awareness, mind and body, coming from this great coming together of 37 trillion cells. We are conscious. You're having an experience watching me right now. I'm having an experience hearing the sound of my own voice, talking to a camera and connecting with you via the internet at the speed of light. Wild. So, yeah, we are conscious. So, energy can't be transformed. We all come from the same source. Sorry, energy can only be transformed, and we all come from the same source. We're conscious. Do we have any reason to say that consciousness doesn't continue? Like, we don't know what consciousness is. It seems to me that matter and consciousness are inseparable. Consciousness and experience is fundamental to matter and energy, because matter is energy. Therefore, when I die, in a real sense, I do continue, because the consciousness that makes me up returns back to oneness with the earth. My body dissolves and gets broken down by worms, and that feeds the worms, and they, have babies. Don't know how worms have babies. They continue living, and eventually they feed up to plants that feed us, and we continue to feed life on planet Earth. And so the consciousness continues. So do I believe in reincarnation? In that sense, I do. However, I don't believe George is going to go fly off to a tree and be in a cloud somewhere, and my spirit looking down, because I believe that this sacred vessel is what brings together enough consciousness, my body, for me to be able to think in thoughts and tell stories like My Name is George. Like, George is a story that I make up. And as you get deeper in your meditation journey, you will connect with this, that we are, awareness, embodied awareness, and George is a story that I create for myself using words. So I believe when the body goes, my consciousness is dissipated. It's not that I just fly off to a tree. So that's my thoughts on reincarnation. And then what animal would I like to come back as? So as my consciousness and body, matter, energy dissipates back into the earth and then eventually comes back up in different forms. If I could send an intention to go and choose a form to be in, would I be in the sea? Would I be flying? Or would I be on the land? Good question from the Guyver. Been connecting with flying animals recently. I was at a medieval festival and they had some beautiful birds of prey that weren't in their wild habitat, but still a precious opportunity to see them. And these stunning birds, a huge owl, a European eagle owl, which is like this big, huge talons, really fluffy. I would choose him. Or them. Gender is up to the Tao. Normalize Audio says, my thermostat has a mind. And maybe that's a question around what is the difference between intelligence and mind. So if I was saying, I experience the world and that helps me, that is my consciousness. I have a mind because I'm having experiences. But in some ways, your thermostat, it can know how hot your room is or how cold your room is and then adjust the thermostat accordingly. So are we saying that if anything responds to life, that it is conscious? It would seem a bit of a silly position to say that our thermostats are conscious. So are we stuck in a bit of a conundrum then? Well, I would argue that there are differences between machines and organisms. That machines work on programs and organisms, they do not. Although we have some genetic programming, it's much more complicated and perhaps of a completely different form of intelligence. For an organism, although we have genes and DNA, it's not that the genes preceded evolution. Like the genes started evolution and they started going. Like life began, and life is kind of this dance between the genes that record knowledge and programs to help the organism function, but then the cell, all these are complicated ideas, haven't managed to... there's a great book, Ian McIlgrist, The Matter with Things, which, has lots into this. Getting to the point that organisms don't have parts. Everything is interconnected. There's no if this happens, then this happens. Like a thermostat is a very simple equation. Whereas organisms, the genes and the cells, they just know how to form themselves. Like a cell, it's like a chicken and egg problem. If a cell knows how to make DNA, how did the first DNA exist without the cell to make it? Same thing as how's the chicken born if it wasn't in an egg, and where did the egg come from? And that's because life actually unfolded in this really complex, non-linear and non-mechanical sense. It's a unfolding of an organism which is interrelated. So there are no parts in nature. There are parts of machines. And maybe a counter-argument to that would say, well, just the machinery of nature is so complex that we can't discover the programs that govern human consciousness, but it is all automatic. And I think we will, as human beings become more powerful, we get better and better at delving into the workings of nature and understanding more and more of how nature expresses itself, and the mathematics and the underlying logic that shapes nature, not determines. And yet, these are still models. This mechanistic idea that we are machines is still just a metaphor that human beings construct in our minds to try and describe nature. Nature is ultimately undifferentiatable. There's different aspects to nature that we can see. There's different features, but it's all connected. It's all interdependent. And so our words try and break up reality when actually it's a flow. It's a continuous thing as opposed to cause and effect and determinism. So there's so much we could go into with that, and I want to keep on in future months, get deep in my ability to be able to express these ideas. Ian McIlgrist is really awesome. His book, The Matter with Things, is systems theory, as people are sharing on the chat. Exactly. Ian McIlgrist has got some really awesome ideas about all of this, and in future weeks I want to share more of that. Emergism, holism, beautiful. Nice one, Rodrigo. Let me check in with the chat after that. Beautiful. A chair has no organization to experience much, but I'd argue can experience something, even if that's just vibrations. If we take the pan-psychist idea, then that would be possible. Beautiful. All right. So some philosophical explorations today. Beautiful to be with you. 47 amazing people. Before we go into Zoom, I want to share with you some sprap, if you want to stay for that, which is, me doing a freestyle rap, making myself look a bit silly for you and seeing where we go with, getting into the flow, which is one of the things that we try and do in our Daoist practice, is to give ourselves permission to flow. So if you give me some single words in the chat, and I am going to add those single words to a little sheet, and then let's try a rap. And let's get some beats on. Okay, friend, let's do this. So we got some words in the chat. Thank you for holding space for the sprap. Let's see where we're gonna go. Yes. Okay, let's try it. Yeah. 1, 2. Giving gratitude to the Wayfinder crew. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, here I am, a conscious being living on planet Earth, wondering how did I get here? What am I a part of? How is it that when I look into the night sky, I see, filling my eyes, a light that comes from a divine source billions of miles away, part of something so complex I can barely have the words to explain or say. Yes, I'm getting confused. The more I think about where I came from, the more I think that I'm caught in a ruse. Yeah, but then I look around to me and I see the plants and the trees, and everything seems to be exploding and opening. Nature so abundant. I'm just one species of many on this planet that have experiences, that have emotions, that know that they can, through the oceans and the skies, begin to express themselves, consciousness coming alive. Yeah, so it seems to me that consciousness is fundamental to reality. So if we can give it an ism, I'm going to give the word panpsychism. It's the idea that all that is has consciousness, has experience, even the atom. Yeah. So where does this put our power all over history, people talked about there was a great power in the sky, maybe a man, a god, a deity, but it seems to me that if everything has consciousness and we look through, that we can see that the truth is not the powers outside but within. Yeah, not monotheism. Half rhyme. And so if we understand this, yes, we can see that there is so much more to see about who we are and how we fit into this great harmony. Yeah, and when we understand that, yeah, it's a treat. Looking at the world, feeling so sweet, understanding what I'm part of, and I reconnect with the fact that yes, I forget, I get confused and I hurt, but through all of it, that I am coming from the same source. Yeah, so here's my discourse. What do you say? Panpsychism, let's go play. Yeah. How do you see this reality? How do you see? Yay. Thank you so much for holding space for the scrap. Got on some panpsychic adventures with Dad. Yeah. Thank you so much. Beautiful to be with you. Thank you for holding space for this scrap. And we're going to be heading over to, thank you, Andy. Thank you, I am. Going to be heading over to Zoom now. We're going to do some movement together. If you haven't joined before, you're so welcome. We will be, doing some Qigong, moving meditation, where we come to our breath and we train our nervous system to be able to relax through movement, through presence. And it would be beautiful to be with you. So I'm going to share the Zoom link. Whoa. Okay, so that's the Zoom link. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, Min. Thank you, I am. Yeah, come down to the Zoom crew. And you can find these links through the Wayfinder community. So make sure to, if you're not a member of Wayfinders, to do try and access the events through that, because you can see the community that is there. There's many community-run events each week, exploring Qigong and calligraphy. And you can share your learning journey beyond just the sessions with me. You can share it with fellow Wayfinders. And so, it's a beautiful thing to keep on supporting, keep on learning. And thank you as always. So much love and gratitude to you, sending strength and love for your journey. See you on Zoom. And ciao for now. One.